Well, Lee, thanks for joining.
No problems. No, my pleasure.
To start off, what's the significance of a cloud-based data platform?
Well, actually, I feel as though that's two questions in one. A cloud-based data platform. So cloud's the norm now. So we don't really talk about the significance of a cloud-based data platform. We don't really know many businesses who are operating on data platforms that aren't cloud. The significance of a data platform, if I was to simplify it, is it gives you the ability to stitch together your full business into a single pane of glass. The cloud element gives you the scale capabilities. So historically, pre-clouds, it would be very expensive. You would need to you'd need to invest heavily in a team to be able to scale your data platform capabilities, but you can react at the drop of a hat now within cloud.
Yeah. Do you feel like it matters which data platform you're using? There's obviously a lot of Snowflake, Databricks hype at the minute.
No, actually, and we've built our business on that premise. So we're experts in data solutions, and we operate in a technology agnostic manner. So we work with all the above mentioned that you've just gone through. So Databricks, Snowflake, Fabric, cloud native with AWS, Azure, GCP. We don't do a great deal in the Oracle space, but same applies. The technology is almost irrelevant in today's world.
Yeah, I speak to a lot of data leaders, tech leaders. Most of them are embracing data platforms, or at least they're trying to move into a more mature environment. But I feel like a lot of them are stuck in what to actually do. So they've been told to look at data engineering, create data governance frameworks. But then once that's set up, what's next? So what I wanted to ask was, what's the one thing you think companies still don't understand about the potential of their data and data platform generally?
I wouldn't say they don't understand. Everybody realizes the value of the asset that is their data, but they all try and run too quick. So what they don't understand, or what they struggle to deal with in the first instance, is the fact that you can't run before you can walk, and they often ignore the need to put fundamental principles and basics and foundations in place. They think cloud will just open up the door to be able to do all the whizzy stuff, and I'm sure you've got lots of questions that start with an A and end in an I, but you can't do any of that until you've got some solid foundations in place. If I was to elaborate a little bit further on that as well, I think the bit that's often missed is that the technology is just a shiny container to deliver their solutions within. So it doesn't matter if they opt to go with AWS or they opt to go with Azure. Fundamentally, the data engineering and data architecture skills that underpin the solutions they're going to build in those technologies are the most important commodity. It doesn't matter what technology they choose to go with.
Yeah. So what's the strategy around that? Once they've confirmed which data platform or cloud technologies you're using, in terms of a return on investment, looking at value of data, how are you working out how these technologies are actually going to help you?
Well, they'll all help you, but only if you're building the right solutions within them. So what the strategy should not be to lift data up from point A and drop it into point B. And actually, more often than not, that is what some people think they can get away with. Somebody from Databricks, and I've got nothing against Databricks, by the way, big fan. I'm just using them as an example because their marketing's pretty awesome. Somebody from Databricks will turn up and sell Databricks as a technology capability, but they tend to neglect the fact that there's a lot of work that needs to go into designing and building the ultimate solutions that will sit within that shiny container that is Databricks. There's an assumption that you can put something like Databricks in place, move your data into it, and you're AI ready, you're ready to scale. You can go 10 times faster than what you were going last week, But the reality is that the work's just starting once you put the technology in place. You should never build a strategy, certainly not a data strategy around technology. The technology will move on. There'll be a new technology in 2 years' time, and the same skills and principles and methodologies that have been around in some cases for 20, 30 years are still very applicable to those brand new shiny toys that are dropping on the market today.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never really thought of it like that, to be honest.
That's what I stand for, essentially. We'll talk about it a bit later, I'd imagine, but that's where the business came from. It's you've got to start with strong foundations.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's take a step back. You're founder, CEO of major data analytics AI company, Serios Group, and you have a strong, rich background in data generally and tech. So can you share an overview of your career so far and how you've reached this part of the journey?
Yeah. So well, first and foremost, thanks for the big intro to the Serios Group there. I never really think of us as a major player yet. Our goal is to be a major player. We just turned 5 earlier this year, which is like crazy to think about. I still remember sitting down and thinking of what I wanted to do. I didn't even know it was called Serios Group at that point. I just knew I wanted to start something that made a big difference. But my background is very technical. So I was a data architect and engineer. I was a data engineer before data engineering was a thing. You just obviously didn't know it at the time. Background working in consulting. Started off as a graduate. Worked with lots of the major banks, implementing Oracle solutions, not always in the BI and data space. I started off as an application developer, but it wasn't as sexy as the world of data. So I got drawn in and developed my career for a consultancy who were subsequently acquired by a bigger consultancy, and I opted to go out alone. So spent 8 years on the freelance market, working the circuit with the big banks and implementing typically finance transformation programs I was involved in. My role was to design and build the data platform capabilities for whoever it was I was involved with at the time. Where I used to get very frustrated was the way that those programs were initially set up, and how they often didn't deliver the value that the investment would suggest that they should do. They were very heavily resource augmentation driven. So they typically procure the big 4 consultancies who would land large numbers of consultants on significant day rates, and if we're being truthful, the end goal for them was not necessarily to deliver an outcome very quickly. It was to have large volumes of consultants on site for as long as possible on significant day rates. So my frustrations were I wanted to deliver high quality data solutions rapidly, and it was difficult to do that in that environment. So I wanted to break out and create something that challenged the status quo in that space, and offered genuine outcome-based, fixed timeline, fixed price solutions. And that was kind of where Serios Group came from. I remember the initial conversation with my wife on our sofa. We were living in southwest London at the time, and she thought I was crazy. We lived a nice sort of simple life, and her view was I was about to complicate things, but I took her advice on board and duly ignored it, and went ahead with it anyway. And look, like 5 years later, we've grown a great business, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, and these days, you and Serios Group work with major global banks.
Yep.
Small, large retailers, even Premier League football teams.
Yeah. Well, they weren't a Premier League football team when we first got involved, but we can't take the credit for the success at the football club that you're referencing. But yeah, I mean, I'm a lifelong fan, and it's it was a bit of a game changer for me to be able to get involved and be at least a small part of their journey. But yeah, as you reference, our bread and butter is big enterprise, big corporate enterprise, which is my background. I know it, I understand it, I get how to navigate it, and I understand the challenges that they have as well. So it was important for me to build a business that operated in a space that I understand, and we've built a basis around that. So financial services is our biggest industry, which is great because, as I mentioned before, that's my background. So we want to grow that more.
Yeah. So a lot of corporates, but they're highly diverse across major industries.
Yep.
So what are the similarities and differences between those organizations across the industries in terms of AI readiness, data maturity?
Well, before I answer your question, let me flip it back to you slightly as to what do you mean by AI, and what do you mean by AI readiness? Because that is such a diverse minefield, and I just want to make sure that we're touching on the right elements.
So you're not supposed to ask me the question, but I mean, when I hear AI readiness, it's obviously open to interpretation, but the crux of it is, are the organization willing to experiment with new AI technologies? And they could be generative AI technologies, or just natural language process and any of the subdivisions. But it's more of the culture about innovating, experimenting in AI.
Yeah.
So do you feel like some of the corporates have that mindset at the minute where they're ready to innovate and use the data stack to help with that?
Well, look, they're all, and look, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable with flipping the question, but there was a reason why I did, because I get asked about AI a lot, and look, we even in the introduction you referred to us as a major player, data analytics and AI business, and actually the truth of the matter is we're not an AI business. We're a data solutions business, and you can't have good AI without solid, robust data solutions. And we stand by that. We're an enabler for our customers' AI journeys, and whether people are AI ready or not doesn't actually matter, because they're all running with it anyway, and it's a lot easier for organizations to secure budgets for AI initiatives now than what it is like basic sort of data foundations and data governance projects. So they all think they're ready, and from a similarity perspective, they've all got vast quantities of data within their organizations, because they're big blue chip corporate businesses, but they all want to run before they can walk, and I'll stop short of saying that none of them are AI ready, but in terms of what AI actually is and how it's perceived in the market, I think very few of them are actually AI ready and addressing their foundations and embracing AI tools to help them at that level as well. Because like AI doesn't have to be about building a product. There's lots of AI products that are already out there that can help you go faster. We're embracing them at Serios Group. I'm saying we're not an AI business, but I'm very aware of AI in the markets, and if I ignore it, then somebody else will come and pip us to the post. So we're arming our people with AI tools to help them deliver more faster, but it doesn't replace them. It just gives them an extra tool set to be able to do their job more efficiently. With regards our customers, I am seeing a big shift in AI readiness, as you call it. But what I'm not seeing is many production ready AI solutions. There's a ton of MVPs being produced, but very little to any making it into a live production environment.
Yeah. And so when you're speaking to organizations, possibly prospects, are they the ones asking for AI in the business, in inverted commas AI, or is it you highlighting that, if we sort your data out, we make it more mature, then it gives you the platform?
But we always take that approach. That's our standard is always taking them back to the sorting their data out, giving them the infrastructure and the foundations to be able to build upon and look at AI initiatives. But absolutely, everybody I'm speaking to at the moment is talking to me about AI. This morning, before I came here, I had a call with a client, a big financial services institution, and they're talking to me about their budget for next year, and their budget for next year is to include AI initiatives. So they're putting that on our radar early, so we can have discussions as to how we can help with that in the new year.
Yeah, we'll get onto the fundamentals of data strategy, data governance, data architecture later. But I wanted to go back to some of the client work you're doing, because I feel like we're missing out on an opportunity if we don't talk about the Premier League football club, Sunderland.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've been working with them for a while, so you've seen their progression back into the Premier League, which is quite exciting. But how is Sunderland Football Club using data and analytics?
So, Sunderland Football Club's it's a conversation I have a lot. Everyone gets excited about the football stuff. Look, I get excited about the football stuff. I have regular meetings at the club's training ground, and driving in there itself is enough to put a big smile on my face. It's usually at the start of the day as well, so it's a great way to start the day now. What people don't realise, or they do realise but they don't necessarily think of it in this way, is that a football club is just a big business. And as a big business, they're generating like large volumes of data. And it's not just on the playing side that data is important in a football club. It's arguably more important on the commercial side of the club. We started our involvement with Sunderland Football Club some 3.5 years ago, and I'll forever be indebted to their old head of data, a guy called James Young, who gave me the opportunity to get Serios Group involved, helping them on the playing side to integrate disparate football data sets. So football clubs don't operate with like one data source. It's the power of marketing and salespeople. They turn up and they're able to sell their capabilities and how their product is different to the next. But then what you end up with is lots of disconnected systems. So time to value increases because you've got to troll through one system, troll through another, whereas we help them integrate all of those systems into that single pane of glass, so they can access everything they need to access from one platform. With regards how they're using data analytics now, 3.5 years later, so it's been a lot of change at Sunderland Football Club since we got involved. So you mentioned the promotion to the Premier League. Well, 3.5 years ago they were in League One. When we first got involved, they were in the third tier of English football, and we've had the privilege of seeing the journey that they've been on. The regime has changed significantly, and on the commercial sides, they brought in a guy called David Bruce, who joined from the MLS as their chief business officer, and he really understood the power of data. So I remember my first conversation with him in the boardroom at the club before a game a couple of years back, and he was asking all the right questions. How do we bring together our CRM data with our ticketing data, with our retail data, and his vision for the commercial side is to understand everything about the fan, which is ultimately their customer, and he recognized that to do that, he needed to put something in place that gave him rapid insights into every touch point that every fan has with the football club. So what we've helped them do is integrate their ticketing platform with their retail platform, with their payments platform. So every time something's purchased in the stadium, and somebody taps their card because they're buying a pie, you know that a pie's been purchased, and you know exactly where it's been purchased, and you can't identify the purchase to an individual, but it will help you with things like stock control and resource and capacity planning. So he's
it's like real-time analytics, basically.
Essentially, yeah. So they just didn't have anything like that before, and we're not actually probably doing ourselves a disservice here, but we're not actually doing anything groundbreaking. We've put some basics in place for them. Their data platform is their data platform. We deploy our technology into our customers' data platform technologies, and it enables them to accelerate the integration of disparate systems. So now the football club and the commercial side, by the way, we only started working with the commercial side just over a year ago, and in a year we've been able to fully integrate all their core systems to give them a single view of their fan.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's really cool.
But everybody who speaks to me about Sunderland Football Club expects the conversation to lead down the playing side and the performance and so on and so forth. So it would be a shame not to touch on that. So in the same platform, because why would you have two data platforms in an organization, which is another thing that I feel strongly about. We integrate their player performance and opposition analysis data, so they've got access to all of that alongside their commercial data as well. So they can see things like if they're selling lots of number 18 shirts from the club shop, is that directly related to the fact that Wilson Isidore, who wears that shirt, is bringing the feel-good factor back to the Stadium of Light by scoring in every home game? It's just small insights that ultimately make a big difference to where you go next, and ultimately make business decisions to provide a better fan experience and drive the revenue at the football club in the direction that it needs to go, which is up.
Yeah. Are they analysing play performance as well?
Yeah. So that's the...
How are they approaching that then?
How are they approaching analysing player performance? Yeah. So they use two core applications for their player performance data. So they work with Stats Perform and they work with Impact. So they both give you similar levels of player performance data, but they're different at the same time. So Impact does things that Stats Perform. Stats Perform is Opta, by the way. So Stats Perform gives you stuff that Impact doesn't, and Impact gives you stuff that Stats Perform doesn't. So bringing them together and working with both them in a single pane of glass is of significant value. So they don't even have to think about which application the data is coming from, because it's modelled in as though it's coming from the same place. So with regards to what they're then doing with that data, it's surfaced to the coaching staff. So we work closely with their analysis team, but we're not experts in the football club's data. In fact, that's a point worth making. Actually, it's the same in all of the industries that we work in. We're experts in data solutions. We're not experts in our customers' data. We would never patronize our customers by pretending to be experts in their data. They're the experts in their data. We just make it easier for them to interact with their data and then drive business decisions quicker.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're basically giving them the platform to analyze.
Exactly. Well, we're accelerating them essentially. So what our technology does is it gets you from A to B significantly quicker than what a bespoke enterprise transformation program would do, because some people don't have the budget that the big banks have got to go on like 18-month transformation journeys, and also they don't have the time. So who's got 18 months to wait to to figure out like what the headcount of your business is. It's crazy some of the timeframes that we see, and we pride ourselves on delivering value quickly at a cost-effective price point.
Yeah. In terms of the player analytics, if you search on Google now, say Sunderland versus Newcastle, and all the players now have their ratings. It's like Football Manager, FIFA back in the day. And there's obviously a lot of data that goes into that. But do you have any insights as to how those ratings are actually created? How do you justify a 10-star or a 9-star or 8.1 star rating?
So, truthfully, no, because I'm not an expert in football data. But if we're likening it to how those metrics are derived, it starts at the most granular level. So every single event that happens in a game is captured. So every event by player and by team is captured in real time. So some of it's like super manual, by the way. So there'll be analysts who work for these big companies sat in the stands, like manually capturing every single event. I've got no idea how they do it. It looks to me like the most highly skilled job in the world, because you're watching the game and having to capture that. There's been a touch with the left foot, a touch with the right foot, a pass of a certain number of yards, and so on and so forth. But it's all captured at event level and then aggregated up into key metrics. But how that then turns into Wilson Isidore got a 9 out of 10 in the Sunderland Echo. I've got absolutely no idea. But what I do know is without reliable data, then that measure would be very subjective. Somebody just saying, I think they had a 9 out of 10. But the reality is it's data driven, and somebody who knows what they're talking about from a player performance perspective will know exactly how to derive that rating.
Yeah. Speaking of data driven, will the insights from your data platform keep Sunderland in the Premier League this season?
Well, so not by themselves, no. And also just touching on our data platform. So remember, it's the football club's data platform. We deploy technology into that accelerates the integration of data sources. But the capabilities that we help the football club with, I'd love to think that they would be what keep the football club in the Premier League. What will keep the football club in the Premier League is the progressive mindset of the new regime. And look, the work that they did over the summer was unbelievable. Nobody expected the level of investments that's gone on there over the summer. So I'd like to think that we'll play a small part in that, but yeah, I can't take any credit for that.
Yeah.
So
ultimately, it's a long-term data strategy that's helped them.
Totally. But the value on the commercial side shouldn't be ignored. Everybody gets excited about the football side. I get it. I understand it. But actually, I'd argue that from a football club perspective, the real value is on what you can do with your commercial data.
Yeah. And so I wanted to talk to you more about data strategy generally. And I want to speak to data leaders. They tell me about the foundations, all the elements that go into their chief data office or data analytics team. So is there a specific playbook that you and Serios use to guide a business to data maturity, automation? Do you have any key principles that you always look to?
Yeah, I'm gonna bore you again though, Billy, with my talk about foundations. We, with regards to playbook, then no, there's no there's no standard playbook. But what there is a relentless focus on data foundations, and we you'll never find us overcomplicating things, which is actually why why we get the traction that we do as a business, because I'm not turning up and talking to my clients about delivering them like a whizzy AI solution over an 8-week period. I'm talking to them about what is their data strategy. Do they have some real business problems that need to be addressed and solved? Is there is there any initiatives that they've got in flight that maybe haven't for whatever reason haven't made it through to production that we can help them with? And it all comes back to integrating disparate data sets, keeping the modeling side of those data sets really simple. I don't know if you're familiar with like what people refer to as like old school data modeling techniques with Kimball. Have you heard of Kimball methodologies before?
I'm familiar with the concept, but what does that really mean?
So, well, let me come back to that in a moment. Okay. But look, Kimball methodologies have been around for about 30 years, and there's kind of two. You can divide the data industry in half. You've got the half who believe that Kimball's had its day and it doesn't have a place in a modern cloud data platform environment. And then you've got others who I tend to resonate with a lot, who believe strongly that actually, like, there's nothing better out there than those basic foundations that Ralph Kimball devised some 30 years ago. So, as a business, we advocate adhering to those very principles, and they're old, but there genuinely is nothing better on the market to put a solid set of data foundations in place. What do I mean by Kimball methodologies? Well, the simplest way to describe it really is it's a series of techniques and methodologies that enable you to stitch your business processes together in one single enterprise data model. So we touched on customer before when we were talking about the work with the football club. Customer is an entity that we work with a lot because all of our customers want to understand everything that they can about their customers. Now, think about bringing 100 disparate systems together into one place. Each of those systems has duplication of customers. So let's go back to the football club example. They've got a ticketing system and a retail system. Now, the retail system is picking up purchases from a particular customer. So I'm a customer. I buy stuff from the club store, and or typically online. I've seldom got time to go to the store, but that's all picked up against my name in the retail system. If I'm buying a ticket on match day, then there's a record created for me in the club's ticketing system. So then when we integrate those two systems into a single platform, then I exist twice. So there's duplication of Lee Rorison. So you create a single customer dimension where you're unifying those two records into a single version of the truth, which you can then plug into every business process within your business, so that you could pick one customer and everything you've got on that customer across every system can be pulled into one place, and you know that you're looking at one version of the truth, and you're not missing anything neither, because you've turned two versions of the same customer into one. The reality, though, it's at big corporate enterprise level, is you've got more than two versions of the same customer. You've got hundreds because you're managing that same customer across lots of different applications. Kimball helps you really easily, really succinctly resolve that problem and stitch your business together into a series of business processes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's similar to data architecture, but I know there's a difference. So what's the difference between data architecture and data modeling?
So
or a data architect
It's,
versus a data modeler?
yeah. So actually, I was pausing for a moment to think the best way to answer that. So actually, you need data architecture to design your Kimball models. So best way of describing data architecture, I guess, outside of the data world, think of a blueprint for your house, and it might be a house that you're going to build from scratch on some land that you've bought. It might be an extension or some modifications to your existing house, or it might be some repairs that are required to your house. Now you need to design what that's going to look like, and you'll engage an architect. So Kimball models don't build themselves, although if I was pushing and selling Serios ONE, then I would say that Kimball models do build themselves through our framework, but they still need input from architects and engineers. So a data architect will understand that data landscape of those hundreds of source systems, so they know what's coming from where it's going to, and where it's going to, if we're talking in terms of Kimball, it's going into a star schema, into a series of fact and dimension tables. So you've got all your sources over here, you've got your Kimball architecture over here, but you've got to get from there to there. So you need an architect to design those pipeline processes. Modeling, there's a bit of overlay, because actually data architects will design those models, but a data modeler will understand the next level of detail required to actually physically build those models. So it's the transition, going back to the house example, it's the transition from an architect who draws nice pictures, although I'm doing a data architect some disservice there. I used to be a data architect, to the builders turning up. So a modeler is, in my opinion, a hybrid between a data architect and a data engineer. We don't have any data modeler titles at Serios Group. We've got data architects and data engineers, but the data modeling is a responsibility of both, but at different levels. So the architect will design, and the engineer will implement. So they've both got data modeling capabilities, but they operate at different levels of detail.
That makes sense. I've seen a lot of lead level data engineers move into data architecture, data platform architecture type positions.
Yeah.
And whenever I've placed them in the past, they almost don't realize they're able to move into that kind of role.
Yeah.
Just because it's branded differently.
Yeah.
But do you see that yourself?
100%. So I started like very technical, hands-on as an engineer, and progressed to be an architect now. And I might be a bit biased because it's the route that I took, but for me, the best data architects are those who've had hands-on experience themselves of physically building the solutions that they're then designing. There's exceptions. Look, we've got some great data architects who haven't been engineers before. We've actually got a data architect who used to be an actual buildings architect as well. So I've never seen that before. So that analogy I used before wasn't by chance. I've had conversations internally around exactly that and how similar the two are. So, but yeah, 100%. I mean, the transition from engineers. So we advocate that our engineers are on a growth journey to work towards working in the architecture space.
Okay. And so for any, I'd say mid-level senior data engineer who wants to move into the architecture space, how would you recommend making that transition?
Don't wait to get your hands dirty with data architecture. And look, we're quite fortunate in that our engineers are like, they're very proactive and like very ambitious, and they want to go on that journey. But my advice would be, don't just wait to be served designs from an architect. Be curious, ask questions, work alongside the architect. start to take on some of the architecture responsibilities yourself. And if you can demonstrate that you're doing all of that, then when you're dependent on the business you're involved in, whether you've got annual appraisals or whatever, you can demonstrate all that back, then you're gonna progress to be an architect a lot quicker than what you would otherwise.
Yeah. So for any of the junior engineers, entry-level engineers, maybe even computer science students, how would you progress quickly through the ranks to senior principal level engineers? What technologies, skills would you be focusing on?
So, well, we wouldn't be focusing on technologies necessarily. So for reasons I mentioned earlier. So we don't advocate just focusing on particular technologies. It's all of the underlying skills and principles underlying skills and methodologies that lend themselves to all of the technologies in the data space. But do you know what? I'm going to answer this question in a really different way, right? So it's actually not even about asking them to focus on certain skills or certain methodologies or certain processes or certain technologies. It's more about the individual and them taking advantage of the opportunities that are put in front of them. Now, as a business, we're in a position to provide opportunities that certainly in the Northeast, in a business like ours, you just wouldn't get anywhere else. The diverse range of industries that we work in, the diverse range of clients that we work in, the diverse range of technologies that we work with, the diverse range of data solutions that we're asked to go on a journey with our clients to deliver. The opportunities that we can give the young apprentice or graduates or even like junior engineers coming in, it's about them meeting us halfway and being able to take advantage of those opportunities. That was the journey that I went on from being a graduate. I didn't turn up to my graduate program and actually have much structure to it. I was kind of thrown in at the deep end, and as a result, so I've learned two things. Firstly, what not to do with our graduates. So I wouldn't wish the start of my journey on any of our graduates. So we've been able to tailor how we deal with graduates as a result of that. But also that the best way to learn is to just roll your sleeves up and throw yourself in. If you add a bit of like ambition and energy into that as well, then you're going to go. You're going to go where you want to be very, very quickly. And look, we've got grad, well, they're not grads anymore, but we've got senior engineers who started with us as a graduate like 3 years ago. So the pathways are there. It's about being able to take advantage of the opportunities.
Yeah. When it comes to vibe coding, then in Gen AI tools like Cursor, Windsurf,
yeah,
everyone's talking about them at the minute.
Yeah,
I know the principal engineers in particular are wanting to use them as much as possible. But what's your policy or approach internally when it comes to Gen AI tools? You're a big advocate for them?
Really good and relevant question, actually. So big advocate. So we believe strongly in adopting AI tools rather than fending them off. So I think I mentioned earlier on that if we don't embrace these tools and technologies, somebody else will come and pip us to the post. Our people are obviously being naturally curious around AI and the tools available. So if we're not allowing them or enabling them to use those, they'll start to look elsewhere, and they'll move on to another tech business who are allowing them to use those tools. Now, my belief is that it's not AI that's going to replace data engineers. The real risk to data engineers are the engineers who are embracing the technologies that you've just mentioned. So those who are embracing and using them efficiently will be the ones who succeed in the AI era. So we ran a pilot for the first few months of this financial year, and just within our Serios ONE development team, of using, we trialed a couple like you referenced. So you mentioned Cursor, so we trialed Cursor. We landed with GitHub Copilot, and it went very well. So we're in the process at the moment. Actually, I'm working with our CTO on exactly this, where we're rolling it out right across the business, and we're advocating that our engineers and our architects take advantage of Copilot to deliver more faster, but see if things go wrong in that environment. So we drop a solution into a customer's production environment and something goes catastrophically wrong. It's not Copilot's fault, because ultimately you still need to know what you're asking for. You still need to know what to say when you want to iterate what's being provided. So you still need to be an expert in data architecture and engineering to interact with these tools. But I'm a big fan, a huge fan. I mean, why wouldn't I be? The technologies that is now available on the market in the AI space to help engineers are vast. Some of our customers, some of which you know as well, actually, they're embracing exactly the same. So if our customers are embracing it and we're not, it puts us in a bit of a disadvantage, right? So we want to be in a position to help our customers leverage those tools as well. So yeah, big fan.
Yeah, and similarly, obviously, you're CEO of a leading, fast-growing tech business at the heart of it.
Yeah,
and it's a hyper-competitive industry.
Yeah,
there are some big boys in the US who are doing similar work to yourselves, or at least trying to. So how are you keeping your best talent engaged when the competition for talent is so fierce at the minute?
Yeah, we've got a strong vision, and I mentioned earlier as well. We challenge the status quo. So we're different. We're not what you would describe as a typical consultancy. We don't, at Serios Group, we don't land people into a seat with a day rate on their head. That's actually everything we kind of stand against. Whereas a lot of you'll see this in your sector as well. So a lot of the businesses that we compete with, that's essentially their model. They're resource augmentation partners, and there's nothing wrong with that as a business model. It's just not for me. So we get our people to buy into our vision early, and we recognize that they're individuals who want to develop. So they want to go on their own journey, and it's our job to make sure that we give them what they need so that they can progress in their careers. And I've kind of partly answered this question in the last question, or the one before, but what we provide them with is opportunities that they just would not get anywhere else. Yes, they might get to work with the same types of organizations that we work with, but they'll not work with as many of them in a short, condensed space of time. So our people could be working with like a big bank for the next couple of months, but then for a month or two after that, they may move on to a real estate or FM type business, or they'll move to a tech business a couple of months after that, and they're getting a lot of experience that you just wouldn't get in the big consultant world. You maybe work with the same client for like 12, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. I've known people to be involved in the consultant resource augmentation space for like 5 years plus before as well. So it's providing opportunities and recognizing what they want to be able to develop.
Yeah, you touched on a product earlier, Serios ONE.
Yes.
Is that one of the reasons why some of your engineers and talent stay in the business, because of the diversity?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got engineers in our Serios ONE development team, some of which have been with us for around four years. Remember, the business is only 5 years old, and they feel very passionately about the product. Would they still be with us if we weren't developing Serios ONE? I'd like to think so, but I know that Serios ONE is a big attraction for them. They've got the ability to innovate and to contribute to what the Serios ONE product suite looks like. So we're not dictating to them what the product should be. Where I'm actually, I think it'd be foolish of me, right, to hire so many awesome people and not listen to what they're saying. In fact, honestly, for someone who used to deliver data solutions myself, some of the things that my team come to me with, like, I would never have got there myself. So I value their input, and we've created an environment for them where they can contribute to something that we've got big plans for. Like Serios ONE is a big part of the next 5 years of the business.
Yeah. What is Serios ONE?
So simplistically, it's a suite of data platform accelerator products. So we don't black box it. We deploy into customer infrastructure. So we're not hiding anything. Once deployed, the customer's got full visibility of the whole code base, but it automates the ingestion and the modeling of those disparate data sources that we were talking about earlier on. So rather than having to manually build your data pipelines from scratch, it's fully metadata driven. You need data architecture and engineering knowledge to know what to tell it. It's a bit like an LLM, actually. So you can have a conversation with ChatGPT, but if you don't know what you're actually asking it, then you're going to get a load of spiel that doesn't necessarily make sense to anybody. And then when you've got to iterate it, you've got to know what to ask. So as an architect or an engineer, you've got to know what to put into the metadata framework, but it will ultimately automate data ingestion and modeling through Data Vault 2.0 and Kimball within your data platform, not our data platform, your data platform. So we enable our customers to keep complete control of their data in their infrastructure.
Yeah. Why is that significant for an organization to maintain control over their data platform?
Because if they don't, it lives somewhere else, and they're limited on how much they can innovate. So if they're using a black box solution where they've got no control as to what's going on between, remember that sort of A and B that I was talking about before, your sources and your models. So everything that sits in the middle of that, they've got complete control over. In a SaaS black box solution, they don't say any of that, and they can't build around it. So they can't scale their own solution. They don't fully own their solution. It's like they own this bit and they own that bit, but they don't own anything in the middle, and they've just got to trust that what the SaaS provider is providing them with is accurate and correct.
Yeah, I hear about a lot of major consultancies who maybe do half the job, and then they're waiting for the customer to come back to them to advise them on how to actually help the next phase. So it makes a lot of sense, and ultimately, I think that should provide them with a lot of value.
Totally. And also, so think of this scenario as well, right? So, which happens a lot. So big business changes CIO or CTO, or both. And the business has operated on AWS for the last 10 years. But new CTO comes in and they want to go down the Microsoft route. So, big problem. The AWS data platform solution needs to be migrated across into the Microsoft world. Well, our framework is agnostic of technology and will lift and shift seamlessly from one cloud environment to the next, because we're not locked into to particular technologies. It's all, remember, I'm talking about the methodologies and the processes that you adhere to. We implement those in a technology agnostic manner, so you can just you can lift and move to any technology if you please. If you want to move to Databricks, you can take your AWS solution and over to Databricks. you get bored of Databricks, you want to go back to AWS, we can lift it and move it back there, and it removes the need to spend significant sums of money on big transformation programs.
Yeah, makes sense. Moving slightly away from that, it's still relevant, but you mentioned the CIO.
Yeah.
So naturally, when I think of any kind of data solution partner, I think the head of data is looking after it. But I know a lot of chief information officers, CIOs, CTOs will look after the data platform as well.
Yeah.
So how do you communicate the value of data when you speak to the CIOs who maybe don't really understand, or they're not fully in tune with the more modern applications of data and maybe the technologies around it? How do you keep them engaged with, I suppose, the hype cycles and all the newer technologies?
It's a challenge because actually, when we started this conversation talking about how irrelevant the technology is, but actually a lot of stakeholders at the level that you're talking about get excited about particular technologies. So I stick to what I believe in. I talk to them about everything I talk to you about from a technology agnostic perspective, but actually I flip it from a technology problem to a business problem. So to understand the value in these technologies and the data that they're going to be moving into it, they need to be thinking about the business problem or the business problems at hand. Because if they just implement a technology and move loads of data in there, even if they're modeling all the data correctly and everything's industry standard best practice and it's all awesome, if they don't have people in the business who actually want to use that to solve business problems, then it's a waste of time. So it's about flipping it to a business focused discussion rather than the technologies. How do I keep them engaged? I talk to them as much as they will give me their time. I used to be a hands-on like data guru, if you like, but I spend much of my days now speaking to senior stakeholders within the businesses that we work with, because I don't just want to understand what we're currently delivering for them and how we can maybe iterate and improve on that. I want to understand what they're thinking about sort of 12, 24 months down the line. So we can get ahead of the curve and help them with decisions that they need to make around how best to move forward. But look, it's relationships, right? So you just need to talk as much as possible, and I think we had a roundtable event at the office which you very kindly organised, and that's a really good example as to how relationships and continuing to have conversations can reap benefit. We're having continued conversations with potential new clients off the back of that. We think we've hired some new talent off the back of that as well. So you just got to talk to people as much as possible.
Yeah, talk to me, basically.
Talk to you. Talk to Billy. Yeah.
I was going to ask you more about a typical data office, because I was speaking to a head of data a few days ago, and he was talking about his team. He's been given a big budget, mainly because the CEO and the COO want to implement AI everywhere. Again, in inverted commas, AI. But now he has a lot more money and capital behind him to plow into his data setup.
Yep.
Now, he had a team of 10. He has some data engineers, or data plumbers, as he calls it, a couple of data analysts type, data science people who try and do some magic things. But if you had not necessarily a blank sheet of investment, but if you had a large budget behind you, how would you actually structure the chief data office in terms of personnel? Who would be in your team?
That's a broad question. I mean, first off, I'd probably spend my large budget with Serios Group if no. So more seriously, who would be in my team? Well, do you know what? The world's changing, and it's changing because of AI, as much as it pains me to say it. And people. It's not all about people now. I think to succeed, then you've got to have a blend of good people, but good product as well. You can't build everything from scratch now. So if I had a big budget behind me, then I'd be looking at what's the right blend of off the shelf product that I can pair up with the right people to drive the business forward and scale. If we're talking about the data office, then I mean, look, it's not changed a great deal in the past few years. You've still got your CDO, your CIO, your CTO, and depending on the business that you're speaking to, those roles are actually very interchangeable as well. I speak to CIOs who actually are doing the job of a CTO, so it's a difficult one to pin down. But surround yourself with good people. I don't know who came up with that quote, but it's certainly true. So surround yourself with good people, and successful follow. But the question's too broad to identify specific people.
Yeah. Do you see any gaps in the data teams that you work with, though? Like personnel, like do they have enough data engineers or people who understand data generally?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I do see, and look, I've had open and transparent conversations with customers of ours to try and help them address it, and I see a lot of investment in BI analysts. So as a result, as a business, we do the typical data visualization work, the Power BIs and the Tableaus, but we don't do a great deal of it. It's not really a big part of our business, and the reason being, most of our clients have got large teams of BI analysts who can do that anyway. But the real magic is in everything that you can't see under the hood in your data platform, and there is sometimes a bit of neglect around the investment in the engineering side of things in favor of the whizzy stuff that people can see in dashboards. It's an easier sell, right? Because you can physically see a dashboard, but quite often when I'm out and about speaking to new prospects, I feel like I'm selling something that doesn't really exist. It's like the what's the phrase? The Fugazi. So it's like it does exist, but actually to people who don't necessarily understand it, it just seems like vaporware, and that mindset I think is what drives investment in BI analysts over data engineers and architects to an extent as well. The challenge that then gives the business is they're top heavy on analysts, and they start building dashboarding and reporting products that go out to the business without solid data foundations. So the reliability and the overall governance of the data is just not there. Whereas if they flipped it on its head and invested heavily in architecture and engineering, they'll get those foundations, and the analysts will be supplying trustworthy products to the business.
Yeah. What about AI engineers? What's your view on that?
So look, we don't have any AI engineers. We don't have any in the recruitment pipeline. I'm not. Don't worry, I'm not going to flip the question over to you and ask what an AI engineer actually is. But look, there's a lot of AI engineers popping up now. A lot of people who actually used to be data engineers, but they're now overnight AI engineers, and this. It's a little bit of a bugbear of mine, and it's not because I don't believe in AI. I naturally do, but I think in the same way as there's a lot of AI companies popping up now, who like a few months back were data companies. So there's definitely some crossing of the streams that I don't think accurately reflects the difference between data and AI and how the two are interlinked. We're actually, I was chuckling at this one actually just the other week. So we're actually up for an awards at Data IQ in a few weeks' time, and the award is the best place to work in data and AI on the vendor side. Now, we're not an AI business, but see that very award for the last number of years. That award's been the best place to work in data and analytics, but they found a way of shoehorning AI in there. So they've ditched analytics and replaced it with AI. Hopefully this conversation doesn't come out before the awards are judged, because I don't want to I don't want to upset Data IQ with the change in title. But there's a lot of overuse. So what do I think of AI engineers? I actually don't fully understand what an AI engineer is, because it's a really broad area.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I've placed a couple of principal AI engineers this year, and to be honest, they are mainly Python software engineers.
Yeah,
who have worked in data and full stack software engineering.
Well, exactly. So you got to ask yourself the question is really what are they actually doing day to day? Because they'll 100% be data engineers out there who've got a title of AI engineer, because some people think title's really important, and in a progressive AI world, then they want to have AI in their title, because I think it
sounds fancy.
It sounds fancy. It's on trend, but also I think those people are like their ambitions. They think having AI in their title will take them right to the top of their game in the AI space. But you're right, it sounds fancy. That's what it comes down to, Billy. So
yeah, I suppose fast forward into next year, 2026.
Yeah,
what core role or role title do you think every data technology leader should add to their team? And it doesn't have to be new, but what should they be doubling down on?
Well, I mean, I can tell you what we're doubling down on. So we're doubling down on data architects and data engineers. So we've, and I know it's boring. I know you'd love me to say like AI roles, but data architects and data engineers are what you need in your business to give yourself solid data foundations. It's not even foundations. Once you've got them in place, your data architects and engineers they're still the right people to scale upon those foundations and to start delivering like machine learning and like all the whizzy stuff. Let me ask you another question. I know I'm not supposed to ask you a question, but do you think that machine learning is AI?
Well, it's a subset of AI. That's what we were taught at university level.
Right answer. So, in fact, almost word for word, right answer. So, I believe quite strongly in that as well. So see when AI like burst onto the scene, and everyone was talking about it as though it was like a new thing. Well, we've been delivering like ML solutions at Serios Group since day dot. I was delivering ML solutions as a freelancer pre-Serios Group. So we've been involved in AI for some time, but do you know what people actually mean when they're talking about AI? They're actually talking about LLMs. So it took me a while to get to that actually, because I haven't pressed you too hard on it, but I typically give people a bit of a hard time when they talk to me about AI. My first response is always, "What do you mean by AI?" And 9 times out of 10, I get the similar response to what you gave me, because it's so broad. You can't answer what is AI in one like in a minute. So they're all talking about LLMs, and LLMs are good, but they're not ready to replace data architects and data engineers. They're there to help data architects and data engineers.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And to be honest, I think there's so much hype in the industry.
Yeah.
Still, there has been since ChatGPT was released and obviously adopted.
I love ChatGPT, by the way.
Same. It's obviously great.
I use it to accelerate a lot of what I do. I don't use it to do a lot of what I do, but I certainly use it to accelerate. I mean, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
I got a phone call from my probably going a bit off piste actually, but it's relevant to what we're talking about. I had a breakfast meeting at Blake's in town yesterday morning, and at 8:30 my CFO called me up, and she had a question for me that she needed some information by like sort of middle of the afternoon, and it was something that typically would take me probably about 2-3 days to get out what she needed. And I just had a conversation with ChatGPT, and I say a conversation because we were toing and froing for about an hour until I'd refined what she needed and provided her with by mid-afternoon. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have had the time for starters, and her deadline was just too aggressive. So look, definitely got a place for accelerating, but it's not there to replace like what we do in the data platform space just yet.
Yeah, it's a tool to help you.
Yeah,
simple.
Exactly. That's 100% my view.
Yeah, and in terms of 2026,
yeah,
what does that year have in store for Serios Group? What are you up to?
Well, we've like I mentioned before, we just turned 5 earlier in the year, and we started executing our new 5-year plan at the beginning of April, which is super aggressive. So we're currently headcount wise, we sit at around it's around the 75-80 mark, but we've got plans to get to around 250 by FY30. We've always been industry agnostic, but we'll continue to be industry agnostic. But we've recategorized our areas of focus, so into like what we're calling our big 5. We've already grown significantly in financial services, so we'll continue to grow financial services as our biggest industry vertical. We're on the way to growing our presence in the gaming space as well. I want gaming to be our second biggest industry vertical within the next 5 years, and I'm talking about the next 5 years, Billy, instead of next year, because as a CEO, then I'm always kind of 5 years ahead of the curve. I have to be. I can't just think about next year. And then we'll have technology, retail, and hospitality, and what I'm calling built environment, but actually built environment is it's a collection of real estate and facilities management, and some utilities infrastructure work that we do as well. So that's our areas of focus. We've already started that, so there's no big shift in 2026. We'll continue to double down on the plan and scale the business to where we know it can get to. The biggest shift overall, though, is our transition from a bespoke project-driven business to a sticky annual recurring revenue business. We've already got a significant percentage of our revenues in recurring revenue. I want that to be 75% by FY30. Where there's a big drive on our partnership services, which is access to our skills and expertise on demand. Our customers sign up for 1, 2, and 3 years at a time, and Serios ONE. So we've got big plans in the subscription space for Serios ONE. So we will continue to deploy that into customer infrastructure, but we'll get to a point where we can warrant applying a subscription fee to that as well.
Yeah. So if any organisation is listening to this right now, you're taking on more clients, you're willing to work with a broad range of industries as well.
100%. And we big corporates, enterprises, typically in the private sector. We do a little bit in the public sector, but our bread and butter is in the private sector.
Awesome. Well, Lee, thank you. Incredible insight, and really enjoyed speaking to you. It feels like you have a really versatile skill set across data, kind of technology, and then I know you don't want to call it AI, but effectively it is the
No,
subsets of that.
I don't mind.
how
I
it's
don't mind.
emerging.
I'm just, in fact, I'm a bit of a pain in the backside when it comes to AI. So, but look, I get it. I understand it.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, for those who want to read more about you and your work at Serios Group, how's the best way to find you or follow your journey?
Well, I guess the easy answer is our website. You can get us at seriosgroup.com. I'm also I'm always open to people reaching out on LinkedIn as well. So I do get inundated actually on LinkedIn. So it can take me a while to come back, but I will always come back if the questions being asked are of interest.
Yeah. No recruiters there.
No recruiters. Well, look, you found your way in, Billy. So it only took 12 months.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, a bit longer. So
Awesome. Is there anything you'd like to address before we wrap up? Anything key we've missed?
No. Thanks for having me. It's the first time I've done one of these, and I've really enjoyed it. So hopefully we can do it again soon. And
Definitely.
thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.